welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Filmmaker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo and we're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with Alexandra with her fantastic film, In the Grey. Let's take a look at the clip.
Look, I'm not gonna be able to make it today.
Hey, could you make me a cup of coffee?
You promised. Not now, okay? I'm a mother. I have 5 kids. You all just come in here acting like you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, like it's nothing. This is sinful. This is a sin. I want to have a say sometimes.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing your film to us. Really pleasure. And welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family as well.
Thank you. I'm so ecstatic to be a part of this.
Thank you. As we said at the festival, I'm so grateful that you made this film. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
In the Grey is the story of a 33-year-old mother of 5 who is the wife of a pastor. She's living in the South and she finds out that she's pregnant and decides to have an abortion in secret and essentially follows her emotional fallout from that decision. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a brilliant story, and you know, you really has these captivating characters lead the way with the story, and some really great characters in this film. For you, where did the idea where you wanted to turn this story into a film?
So it's based on an experience that I had when I was 19 and stationed in North Carolina. I went down to a Planned Parenthood and was put in this room with all the other women that were having an abortion that day, which was a very bizarre experience. And you were sitting in a circle staring at each other. And this woman stands up and she just had this total come apart in front of all of us, where she just tried to justify why she was there. She mentioned she had kids, she couldn't afford it. And simultaneously, while she was justifying her decision, she was shaming all of us for our decision. Mm. And at 19, I really, as 19-year-olds do, I put it behind me and I didn't really think about it very much. But as I approached the age that I assumed that she was, being in my mid-30s, and I think that was about the age that she was, I developed so much empathy for her, mm-hmm. and how much her community and how she was raised probably played into her guilt. Yeah. And guilt to me is such a fascinating emotion, and I think women really carry guilt naturally in them. And I just wanted to try and see if I could tell a story about a topic that is very important to me, where I centered a mother and someone who most likely has voted against abortion, who decides to have one. And especially with the conversations happening around the subject of abortion, I just don't find it very nuanced. Yeah. It feels very black and white to me. My personal beliefs are that everyone should be able to do what they like with their own bodies, but I think that there's a nuance to the conversation that we're missing. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to tell a story that tried to capture some of that nuance.
Yeah, I mean, you really did, and I'm so thankful that you was able to share something that is close to your heart, but then also have the empathy all the years later to still think about this woman, and I think that's wonderful, and thank goodness, because I don't think we don't see enough of these stories, and the proof is in the pudding, because with how things have digressed since then. You're now seeing a lot of people are now restricted to have that anyway. Was that something this obviously, you probably made this film before even that changed, right?
It was kind of insane. I wrote it in November a couple years ago, I think like 2022, and it was my thesis film for my grad program. Mm-hmm. Shout out Peter Stark Producing Program, it's amazing. Yes. My producers and I decided to submit it for a Stark Special project, and we were accepted. We got accepted to the Stark Special project, I think 8 days before Roe was overturned. Mm. And so as we've been making it and doing pre-production, it's just become more and more poignant. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it was devastating for all of us. I still remember getting the notification on my phone and I think I just broke down into tears. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And I think as well, that we don't know what one is going through or gone through or experienced. And it was so interesting because I don't think we've really seen a take of the character maybe in these circumstances, right? Like you said, someone that maybe would have gone against it, but has found herself in a situation where she can't even tell their partner about what.
Well, and 60% of women that have abortions are mothers.
Yeah.
And I feel we see a very specific kind of abortion story.
Yeah,
And for me, I'm like, yeah, a 17-year-old that gets pregnant, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the story that we generally see. And I was just more interested in telling a story about a woman that already is a mother and kind of what that must feel like.
Yeah, well, it was brilliantly acted, and you really...
my actors were just...
I mean, seriously, like you carried us through.
Fantastic.
How was the casting process for you, and how did you direct this as well?
So the casting process was wonderful. We had a casting director, Nandini. She was amazing. The character that plays the female Marine, who's based on myself, is an actress that I've worked with before. And she just has this kind of silent potency to her.
Yeah.
She really just exudes this very interesting kind of strength.
Yeah, she draws you in.
She really does.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with Joy. She's just amazing. Her name is, she's very aptly named. And so I loved working with her. And my producer, Kellen Brown, who is also fantastic, we were talking about casting, and she was like, you know who'd be fantastic for that character is Joy. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't think of her. Yes, of course. And then we found the character Tammy through casting, and Emily read for the part. And the moment that I saw her self-tape, this woman understood. And Emily is from the Midwest. She really understands this character. She's like, I know this woman. And that was really the biggest thing for me. I didn't want her to be played like a characterization of a Southern woman.
Yeah, totally.
And she just had so much truth. And my directing process is really, I like to work with my actors. We go through beats, we go through intentions. And then I really like to let my actors act. I have an acting background. I think if you trust your actors, then you can let them kind of play.
Yeah.
And that final scene that's pretty much straight takes all the way through. And that's how one of my actors preferred to work. And I said, great, we can do it straight through every time. And so I just let them be. It is kind of like a play in that room anyway. It feels very like theater.
Yeah, it does,
it's the room and they're in it. And we had a very close set with that scene, and we just kind of let them be. And they delivered fabulously.
One of the things that I really, well, it was hard to watch, but enjoyed watching was just, I don't think we really, I still feel like as much as we show mothers in films, we don't really show just how much it is to be a mom with a lot of children.
I'm a dog mom. It's exhausting.
You're exhausting,
I can't
right?
imagine being an actual mother.
I can't. I used to watch my mom as a single parent and be like, how are you
doing all
How
of
are you
this?
coping? Like, I can't even tie my shoelaces.
I have a hard time taking care of myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Children?
And you captured moments in there where you really just felt her. You really showed just in shots and just her looks, just sheer like, oh my goodness, you could almost feel what she's carrying on her shoulders. And the husband just was in his own world, not even understanding or noticing any of these things. So it's almost like he couldn't even relate. There was no conversation, and given the circumstance of their relationship and him being a pastor, I just thought it was amazing. Was that something that was intentional that you wanted to kind of capture?
Mother-daughter stories about motherhood are fascinating to me. I have a very close relationship with my mother. She's one of my best friends. I call her almost every day.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And I have this incredible amount of respect for motherhood. I think we venerate it in a very interesting way in society without contextualizing all the work that goes in.
Yeah.
For me, motherhood equates to sacrifice. And I think that's a really incredible and intense thing that women do for their children. And what does that do to a person? That kind of sacrifice of self, of their own personal goals in order to raise children, it's not a choice that I made. And I don't think I could be a mother because I have so many things that I want to do that I think wouldn't be conducive to raising children.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, what if I hadn't had the option at 19 to not become a mother and then had that thrust upon me? It would have changed the whole trajectory of my life. And I think I would have been incredibly resentful.
Yeah.
So resentful. And so I imagine that a lot of mothers feel this way. There's a certain amount of resentment. And I just think that I like to see women that are fully realized characters that get to have gross emotions and just be real people. And I think the dynamic between mothers and daughters is always fascinating to me. It's as a daughter, it's everything you idolize, and at the same time, it's everything you fear of becoming. That is interesting. That is like the mother-daughter relationship to me.
Yeah, wow. It was nice to see from her standpoint, and then that room that you said that was created, it felt like I was watching a piece of live theater. It was that beautifully intense. I mean, that was a scene that I won't forget. Like, that whole dynamic of that scene played out so, it was so, I mean, I think I forgot to breathe. It was so effective and had such a dynamic, and there was so much energy in that room. How was it like building that up? Because that really was the kind of climax of how we can move forward in our minds from the film, whether we've been educated, entertained, or learned something.
That scene was the hardest to edit.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure.
It was a monster of a scene to edit. And we had the most footage for that scene. Luckily, my editor, Marlena Dunn, is my roommate. So
oh, nice, helpful.
I knew when she was around, so I was like, Marlena, we gotta get to editing. And she was like, I'm busy. I was like, I know you're just up there napping. So we spent a ton of time together working that scene. And we cut a lot of dialogue that was in that scene out that I felt was superfluous after I saw, again, letting my actors act. And I really love a close, intimate camera that just kind of stays with a character.
Yeah.
Really gets inside their head and what they're thinking. And Emily gave so much, and so did Joy. I almost just didn't even, I just wanted to stay in close-ups with them because they were just so, like, the texture of their emotions and coming through on their face. The hardest thing for me was the ending. Like, what are we gonna end this on to really drive that impact down? And we had about 10 different endings, and we were trying to figure out what ending was going to just kind of let us sit with that moment. And we had one of the lovely editing professors at USC sat with us, and we had gone into a close-up, and he was like, you know, a close-up? That's how you wanna, like, we're so in there with her. That scene where she walks out after the other girl that walks out, how long does that go on for, that take? I was like, oh, it goes on for like 2 minutes. Like, we literally sat there on that camera, and Emily just stayed in that character, and he was like, well, that's your ending, ladies. And we watched it, and we were like, yes, obviously, like it couldn't be anything else. Well,
I love that you left us in that moment, because we all, I think, once we'd seen your film, it was like we all just sit there and think, okay. And then it's almost like there's a lot of like personal self-reflection as an audience member to kind of take away from your film. And I'm just curious, like, what did you want people to take away from your film?
I really wanted people to empathize with Tammy and understand why this might have been such a challenging decision for her, and why she was projecting her inner guilt out.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted the audience to realize that for her, for this character, for where she is in her life, that there is no good option. Even after she decides to go through with it at the end, she then has to live with this decision and the community that she's in. And if it gets out, it's complicated for her. And I think you can really see that in her final moments where she makes that decision.
Yeah, no, almost definitely. What's next for you?
Oh, what's next? I'm working on a feature right now where it's about a female Marine and the maternal relationship she forms with a young Afghan girl while she's deployed. So Kellen and I are working on that currently. And then I finished a pilot recently about a female Marine. I am also a female Marine, so I love to pull slightly from my own experiences. Yeah. So she's a combat veteran who is a degenerate gambler. I am a poker player, and if I hadn't gone to grad school, I was really considering moving to Vegas and playing poker professionally.
Oh, amazing, wow.
So every time I tell people that I'm a Marine that plays poker, they're like, that's a movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, okay, but so it's about her and her journey through the underground gambling world of Los Angeles.
Oh, wow. Well, firstly, obviously you're part of our Veteran Cinema program, which was amazing to see just everybody up there who were, in service. And thank you for your service and how special that was. So how was that experience for you?
Seeing everyone up there and just leaving the Marines was difficult because you leave this really tight insular community where everyone really understands each other. And it was just nice being back in that kind of veteran community for a little bit and seeing how much the variety of the stories that there were, and just being on stage with all those wonderful filmmakers and storytellers. It was very special, and I think I speak for all of us when I say how appreciative we are for new filmmakers to give us the opportunity to share our stories like that.
Oh, it's wonderful to see how much talent is within the pool of the community of veterans
amazing.
As well. So really, really good. Goodness me, I mean, to have like a career as you know in service as a veteran, and then a career as a filmmaker is mesmerizing to me, you know. But I think what's so amazing is you've now channeled this wonderful. You've got so much wonderful talent as a filmmaker as well. And I'm just curious, from your perspective, like, do you have any kind of advice in your experience thus far that you would share with the audience about your filmmaking creativity and things that you go by?
I think for me, it's always the team. This is a collaborative medium. I love writing and I love directing. I only get to do what I get to do because of my team and how much they support and love and put into the projects. So I think for any young filmmaker starting out, my biggest recommendation is find your people. Find your people and treat them so well. Treat them so well, and that will just pay dividends. People will come and work for you for free. They will go out of their way to make your project really, really shine. I can't express enough how much just treating your crew really well,
100%.
how much that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
It seems like such a small thing, but all the sets that I've had the fortune of directing, everyone is like, I've just never been treated like such a human being on a set.
Yes.
And so respected, and my time's respected. I mean, if you can do a 10-hour day, do a 10-hour day.
Yeah.
Let your crew go home.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more with that. It's such an important element to filmmaking. It makes everything feel much smoother and you feel much safer in your environment. So that's a really important piece of advice to share. I'm so grateful. Thank you for sharing your films. I'm ready for the next one. But thank you for being part of New Filmmakers LA, and we were very excited to have you, so thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I've thoroughly enjoyed my experience.
Thank you, Alexandra.